You're not a good whistler, are you?
Yeah, I am. I'm a great whistler.
That sounded bad. That's all air. That's no whistle. That's all air.
Well, let me see what you got, kiddo.
Put both your fingers in your mouth. See if that makes a difference.
That's disgusting.
Put both big fingers in your mouth.
This isn't your sex orgy for one. This isn't OnlyFans.
What I don't get about the loud whistler is why they choose whistling over just yelling it.
Who's a loud whistler?
You know these people out there. You know they're at sporting events. They're at meetings of sorts. They're at concerts. They put four fingers in their mouth, 2 per side, and just let a big whistle out in support of whatever's happening, or because they're excited. But it's that loud. And
that
I don't get
piercing.
it. I don't understand why. Like, I've never been in a situation and then said to myself, like, you know what I need to do? Like, I'm having so much fun. You know what I need to do right now? I need to whistle very loudly. See, I've been in the situation where I want to cheer very loudly. Maybe a hoot or a holler.
Yeah.
Maybe yeah, girl. But I don't know
Cover
why.
girl.
I don't know why people choose to whistle instead of just yell.
I think it's because they can. You know, everybody can yell. Who can whistle that well, right? Let them know.
But I don't
And
think
it's piercing.
Also, like, you know, kind of coming right back from that. I've never heard somebody who enjoys hearing somebody whistle like that behind them at a concert or a sporting event.
Yeah, but it just adds more dynamicism to the crowd.
Like,
right?
but if you're so picture you're at a hockey game. And somebody's behind you going.
I'm not saying that I like
and
it.
And someone behind you is going like, "Yeah, go, Leafs, go." Well, you would probably tell that guy to shut the fuck up, anyways, because we're here in Beantown. But if that same guy was out there just whistling up a storm,
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, bud, like, come on, you're an adult. You don't need to whistle anymore. Like,
I don't think I've ever called anyone out for that. I think you're at a sporting event. You paid your fucking shit ton of money to make a bunch of noise for your team.
No, it's. I know. I'm speaking in hyperbole. Obviously, you never go to Boston and confront a fellow sports fan because they would probably just make a comment about your gender or your sexuality or something. It's all like things in your head.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I'm never approaching the person going like, "Hey, can you stop whistling? Like, can you stop hitting that high pitch with your whistle and just cheer like the rest of us?" But you say it in your head. I'm not actually looking at the person and saying it.
Yeah, see, I'm fine with it. I think it's...
Cam, do you tell everybody what you're actually thinking instead of just keeping it in your head like a normal person?
Sometimes. Sometimes not. Kick it!
Continuing tonight on 2 C's in a Pod.
96.7 on your... Two C's in a pod, 2 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 C's just like 2 C's in a pod, 2 C's because we're 2 C's in a pod, just like 2 C's in a pod, 2 C's in a pod at gmail.com. Glad we stopped that one right there, Cam. Thanks for tuning in, folks. You know what you're listening to. This is it's 2 C's in a Pod. This is a podcast that's hosted by myself, Cameron Osborne. It's also hosted by Cam LeClaire.
Yes, sir.
And yes, sir. That's it. That's all he's got for you today. Cam, you're so free of judgment. See, I feel like I'm judging every single person on the bus, every single person in line at the No Frills. Quick shout out, sponsor of the show. By the way, if you hear a product name or an entity or something, they are an official sponsor of the show.
Certainly, no question about it.
Anytime we ever bring up, if we're talking about Excel gum, or No Frills, or of course the beef diaper, you know that they are a sponsor of the podcast.
That's it, buddy. No, I try not to be too judgmental for the people around me. You know, we're in a diverse white community full of white people in Kitchener. So how can you judge?
Now that's interesting because when I said judge, I didn't think race.
Oh,
you
see, when
immediately thought. See, when I think
I just
judge,
thought you were kind of judging people based on the race.
No,
which I
more
don't
think
do.
of somebody who's wearing like tattered sweatpants, but they have an iPhone 10. And you're like, that's a conflict of values right there. When I'm judging people on a daily basis, it has nothing to do with their, their
basically their appearance in society.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with their race or their gender or their sexual orientation. It has 100% to do with what the fuck are you doing right now, bud?
Yeah, I get you there.
And I treat all people that way. I treat all walks of life. I judge equally.
When someone shows up to a Service Ontario with pajamas and I don't really have to say anything more, it's like, could you just put in just a tad more effort? Because I feel like the interaction you're gonna have with the front desk lady isn't gonna be smooth because they're gonna say, "Did you bring all the paperwork you need?" You go, "What the fuck do I need paperwork? I'm here."
Problem number one.
Yeah. "I'm here to renew my license. Do you have your old license?" "No." "Do you have any paperwork?" "I'm right here."
There's a woman who I think lives in the apartment kind of just down the way from Jess's, and we'll spend our morning sitting in the little bay window reading a book, having our coffee, and I see this woman walk by every single morning without fault. She's got one of those little dogs that looks like a puppy, but it looks like it just was born, but it's not. Like it's probably like 5 years old. One of those type of sizes.
Yeah, it's kind of mid-sized.
She's walking
like a mid-sized sedan.
in like plush slippers. They're kind of like sandals, but slippers. In a house coat that falls just below the ass line. And let me tell you, this woman does not have the body of somebody who should be wearing a house coat so short. And she's walking this dog. She goes right past her house, goes to the store, gets some darts, and then walks the other way.
Does the dog come into the store?
I don't know. I can't kind of see. I can't see around the corner to see where they
That's a big
what
question.
actually happens. But I think that's a very small part of the story because Cam, the big part of the story is that I am judging this woman every single time for the entire time I'm watching her. It has nothing to do with her being white and old. It's purely.
Hey, you're the one that brought that up.
It's
not
the
me.
shoes. It's the dog. It's the house coat. It's all the other things that have nothing to do with. All the kind of like the parts about her is all the crazy part.
The reason I ask about the dog is I think there's a certain type of person that brings their dog with them, and then just goes, "I'm gonna leave you tied up outside."
Yeah, I don't like that sometimes either. I guess you do see it a lot. You would see it a lot more in the city, where maybe people, you're kind of walking your dog and then you go to pick up errands or something like that, stop off and, grab groceries or something. Yeah, I would think the same thing. Just keep those two things separate. Because nobody, seeing a dog tied up outside, I feel like it's kind of uncomfortable for everybody. Like it's uncomfortable.
No one likes it.
It's uncomfortable for the people who love dogs because they're like, oh, the dog's trapped. But it's also uncomfortable for the people because remember they're out there. There's a lot of people who are afraid of dogs, who don't like dogs for
I got a dog in the background
reasons.
here. That was at the LCBO the other day, and this guy comes in with like a big German Shepherd-esque dog. Ties it up outside. It's just barking because he wants the owner to come back. Everyone's now moved like 15 feet back from it because you're looking at this leash like, I don't know how much this thing's got on it. What a mistake. I'm like, just separate the two, man. Like, how far could you possibly have lived where you can't just leave the dog at home to go pick up your one bottle of Alberta Premium?
Well, that's what it is. Yeah, like, you can separate dog walking and Prince Igor vodka.
Yeah.
You can kind of separate those two things.
Is that the lowest shelf one?
I saw one the other day where a woman, if you walk into a Shoppers Drug Mart, at least the one close to me, there's the initial doors, and then there's like the little corridor, and then you walk through another set of doors to get into the store, if that makes sense.
I have a side note on that, but I'll let you finish.
The dog was tied up
in the like between the two doors. So so the dog wasn't outside, but it wasn't in the store. And every single time a dog's tied up, it's always one of these little yippy motherfuckers.
Oh, the one's gonna bite your ankles.
And you're in the store, and everybody's looking around, kind of looking at each other, looking around what the fuck's happening, because all you can hear is this dog just yipping throughout the entire store. That's all you could hear.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like, people are either uncomfortable because they're like, this shouldn't be happening. Also, you're looking around like, who is the dumb piece of shit who owns this dog?
Yeah.
But then chances are you're going to see them, and it's going to be like this old looking crazy person, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, I know what's going on with you because you're old and fucking crazy to begin with.
Yeah. Side note about those two sliding doors you were talking about. You know, the ones that like you walk into a bank.
Very important side note.
Oh, it's just something interesting that I learned this week. It's a little fun fact of the week. Apparently, they started putting those in banks, not for airflow. So, like, normally if you go into one of those places that's not a bank, it's so that you can control the air. When it's cold outside, you can blow it out. These are now in banks so that when the robber leaves the first set and that door closes, they can lock them in there.
Oh, lock them between the doors.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I was watched one of those, one of your probably least favorite videos on the internet. Former bank robber breaks down bank robbing scenes from movies.
Oh, I love those videos, Cam. You know I love a video about somebody speaking seriously about something that was written to be fiction. It would almost be like I would also love to have a video similarly titled Which breaks down scenes from Harry Potter.
Yeah, I'd be down too.
I would be down to watch that video because
Crystal Skull expert breaks down Crystal Skull scenes in Indiana Jones.
Those things like that would be fantastic because if you're a person and you claim to be a witch, that you're already you're psycho to begin with. So that's already like a good step one. And then for you to be baited into believing that you're giving factual knowledge about the mystic arts, boom. That's number two. Like, I'm laughing at you for so many more reasons.
What I need is a one that's former prisoner breaks down prison scenes from movies. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I would mostly like to watch, and then I would kind of see that prisoner being like, kind of watching a scene from jail and be like, no, see, that wouldn't actually happen because the guards don't make rounds that often, so you're probably getting raped in the ass.
That's right.
And then, you
that's
kind
what
of cut to the
facts.
next jail scene, and they're like, yeah, so that was close to what would happen, but really you'd be getting raped in the ass instead.
You wouldn't be as much lube as you see.
It's just constant, like, no, that wouldn't happen because you would be too busy getting raped in the ass. It would just kind of be like that on repeat, except for Shawshank. Shawshank might be, maybe that's like the only one where they're like, yeah, that ass rape was pretty consistent with what jail would be like.
If you want, for the listeners at home, if you want to watch a guy on YouTube break down pretty much just a YouTuber that had been in prison for like 15 years and came out and started doing YouTubing. Name's Larry Lawton. He'll tell you all about how do they make wine in prison, how does the commissary work, what do you trade in prison, how do cellmates work, things like that you or I, Cam, that we would just never know the answer to because, well, we'll see, but haven't been in jail yet.
Haven't been in jail yet, hoping to keep that off.
Stay out.
I do know the Michael Mann movie Heat. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's got Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer. It's actually a badass movie, but it's about bank robbers like on that like very large scale. It's like 2.5 hours. It's very, very, very good, but actually like certain practices of the LAPD, they needed to like change what they were doing because the movie was too realistic. Like the way that the cons and the the bad guys kind of broke down the police system and were able to evade them was like too real. That the police force actually had to, that various police forces actually had to change the way they do things, because heat was too real, which I thought was pretty cool. Imagine having to change your entire thing just because a movie came out.
Yeah, I mean that's a badass one. I'm sure there's other situations where movies that came out and then they're like, oh, we need to change the way we do something stupider, but that one's pretty badass.
Yeah, go check it out if you haven't. Okay. Cam, let's get into the show, shall we? Let's get into the show with some things.
Oh, what? You don't consider dialogue the show? What do we do?
I do not consider dialogue the show. I consider segments to be the entire show.
If we're not moving through segments, we are wasting time.
We're wasting the listeners' time. They're here to listen to.
They're here for the banter.
They're here
Monday.
for the banter.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Happy Monday. Let's get into the week by reviewing some things from last week with a couple notes.
Notes. We got some notes. We got some notes. Notes. We got some notes.
First off, we're going to do our first note. This came off of one of the no-hios from last week. Could a python eat a person? Well, obviously,
Yes.
There's a lot of factors. Obviously, of course, it would depend on how big the person is and how big the python is. However, the average fully grown python would be able to swallow a child whole, or anybody about under the height of 5'4". So pythons, they have this ability to kind of break their jaw open so they are able to get around larger things.
Well, I think they dislocate their jaws.
However it works. I'm no ornithologist.
Snicologist.
Yeah. So a fully grown python would just have some trouble getting themselves around the larger shoulders of a man or the larger hips of a grown woman. That would be where, but a kid, before they're fully developed and they haven't really grown, kids would go down like butter. So, Cam, a fully grown man like yourself, with your large shoulders, maybe a little bit difficult. But I think someone, with a smaller shoulder blades like
Smaller
me,
frame.
I think a python would be able to get his chompers right around me, no problem.
That should be one of your fun facts when you introduce yourself. You're like, 3 fun facts about myself. I've been to 16 different baseball stadiums. I have 2 different middle names, and my shoulders are small enough to be eaten by a python.
Yeah, bring me back to what was that? The 2 truths and a lie type of introduction, which I love doing.
I don't have 2 middle names.
I love doing. Yeah. I love making the lie obviously a lie. And then, kind of baiting the person into it'd be like, oh, my name's Cameron Osborne. I can run a 5-second 40. I think that the Axis powers don't get enough credit, and make 3 that are wild, and then people are like, shit, does he actually support the Axis powers? Cam, we're also talking about a little bit from last week. We're talking about baseball legend Pete Rose.
Yes.
We were talking about he is a 3-time World Series champion. He does carry 5 MLB records, and those are the most hits with 4,256. The most singles, he has 3,215 singles. He played in 3,562 games with 14,053 at-bats and 15,890 plate appearances over the course of his almost 19-year career, I think, almost 20-year career, which is wild. But like we said last week, Pete Rose is not allowed into the Hall of Fame due to, the reason why was because in 1989, the very last year that he was a manager for the team, he was penalized with a permanent ineligibility from baseball games based on the allegations that he bet on the Cincinnati Reds games while playing and managing for the team. Pete Rose actually voluntarily accepted the ban, claiming that there was an actual factual reason for it, because he did it. He admitted to doing it. But in return for accepting the ban, MLB agreed to make no formal investigation into the allegations. They didn't look any further into it because he accepted the ban. But now where this becomes tricky was because in 1991, the Baseball Hall of Fame voted to formally ban all of those who are on that permanent ban list. So because Pete Rose put himself on the list 2 years prior voluntarily, and then the Hall of Fame voted to just everybody on that list is not allowed, and of course, into the future also, if somebody were to presently be put onto the permanently banned list, that person would also not be allowed in the Hall of Fame. So it's less of a thing that Pete Rose, he was not allowed, but due to it's like a backdoor sketchy reason as to why he's not.
Right. It's like I'm not allowed in Mexico because of several charges, not because Mexico doesn't like me.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that could be a good way.
It's ongoing, the investigation.
Exactly, yeah.
Charges.
That could be a good. That could be a good way of putting it. So yeah, Pete Rose kind of did this to himself. Well, obviously he did it to himself, but is she still welcome into the Hall of Fame? Who knows? That'd be nice.
He's welcome to my Hall of Fame.
I mean, one of these days, Barry Bonds. That'll be the big question for us to ask next. It's a little bit easier than the likes of, Shoeless Joe Jackson or somebody who we all kind of, everyone's like, yeah, they shouldn't be there.
I just know him based on the restaurant.
Oh, okay. No, you're thinking small, quick little history lesson there. The Chicago Black Sox is the name of the team. 8 Men Out, I believe, is the name of the biopic done about it. No, they threw the game. The Chicago Black Sox team of like the early 1900s, they threw the games intentionally because they were betting on them. So there was 8 guys associated with that team. Shoeless Joe Jackson, I think, just being the best of them, like the best baseball player of the lot. So that entire organization was banned from the Hall of Fame. But that one's a little bit better, I feel. They were intentionally throwing games.
Yeah.
Pete Rose was betting on himself to win. So I don't know. I don't really know where I land on that.
Wait, is Shoeless Joe's canceled?
The restaurant?
Yes.
No, I think you can still go to Shoeless Joe's.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Why not?
I got a Chuck's Roadhouse in 10-minute walking distance of here that does $4 beers on weekdays.
Okay.
Now, if they open up patios, can't wait.
You can't.
I can't see that ever happening again. Anyway, I'm not going to linger on that topic. Well, thanks for the little heads up on the Baseball Hall of Fame regulations and old Petey Rose. You got any other notes for the week?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, we still support Pete Rose in this house, though.
Yes, in this house of sin. The real question is, when Barry Bonds does get inducted to the Hall of Fame, does he use the what do you call it? Does he use the Kanye West song Barry Bonds as his walk-in?
I'm surprised he wasn't using it his entire career, to be honest. At least after 2007. 2006. Oh no, it's one of those things. He probably won't.
It is one of his worst songs, but
he probably won't be allowed in there either. I did try to do a quick look around to see. Baseball seems to be the only sport where there is heavy objections to not being allowed in the Hall of Fame. I couldn't quite find anything else from other sports that were as steadfast,
as strict
as that. Mainly, I think just PEDs are most popular in baseball, I think.
Well, PEDs became popular in baseball not because they're not popular everywhere else, just because they decided that hey, we're not going to allow drugs anymore. You think it's not rampant in the NBA? When's the last time you saw a positive test in the NBA for steroids?
Last season, you'll get one probably a year where it's not the steroids, it's the diuretic they find.
Yeah, so
you'll see, one or two a year. It happened to a player, DeAndre Ayton, last year, and another player named John Collins. Happened to both those two guys. But it is rare. Hockey, you never fucking see it.
It's the chicken's garden, the hen house, right? Or whatever you call it. The fox garden, the hen house. Why would they, if LeBron James is juicing to the gills and they come out, they're like, do we want this man suspended for 6 months or do we want to continue making money?
Yeah, it's tough. I also think there are some sports which lend to performance-enhancing drugs a little bit easier than others. I think baseball is one of those sports which lends to steroids a little bit more than others.
No, what makes you say that?
Just because I feel like, I don't know, I just kind of picture the way that steroids would affect the person, the body, particularly when it comes to when you can tell someone's not natural, It would be hard
Well-
to tell someone's not natural when their entire body is covered. Like, sometimes like you need to see their veins, need to see them flex kinda to be like, oh yeah, that's 100% not natural.
Yeah, but that's if they're bodybuilding, Cam. I think the difference is like if you're taking steroids for faster recovery, right? It's not like all steroids are meant to just make you like giant and huge.
Yeah.
They're meant to make you faster, stronger. They don't have to look that strong, but you can do it just so you're like, I need to recover quicker so I can get more days in the gym in a week.
Yeah, I don't think Sammy Sosa was trying to recover quickly. I think he was trying to hit as many bombs as he possibly could.
Yeah.
Right? Where, yeah, it sort of seems like that kind of thing would, just kind of be different from sport to sport.
Well, I think we look at steroids as such a certain set of it instead of how can I increase my VO2 capacity, right? How can I increase my aerobic capacity?
Okay.
Like things like that where you're just not really thinking of like, you think steroids is big instead of steroids makes me work harder, have a higher work rate, last longer, recover quicker, and be a little faster and have even less weight on me. Right? Anyway, enough sports talks. We know that our listeners probably don't give a shit about steroids. But
no.
you know what they do care about, Cam?
What's that?
Spinning the fucking wheel. It's time for the Wheel of Death.
Death.
The Wheel of Death. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh no.
We love this game. One of the new games over here at Two Season Pod.
All right, Cammy boy. This week on Wheel of Death, we have these head topics. Bring the noise. A true man. That's not a sport. That's my wife. Boo this man. LAX. STFU and jail time.
Perfect. Let's spin that wheel, baby.
All right. A true man, Cam. Pull up my wheel of questions here. A true man. If you had to make a case that you were living in a Truman Show situation, what evidence would you use?
I knew you were gonna do a Truman Show. I felt like that's why that one was going. Cam, this happens to me all the time. Let me know if it happens to you. Folks, let us know if it happens to you. twoceesinapod@gmail.com. This feels like this happens to me all the time, where I'm walking around. Anytime I'm walking around in the evening, you're walking down the street. The street light always goes off when I'm directly underneath it. I can't. Can I pinpoint exact? This has happened to me dozens and dozens of times over the course of my entire life walking around. You're walking home from the bar, the fucking light goes off right when you're under. You're walking home from work, the light goes off right when you're under it. It feels too random to be, or it feels too specific to be random. I think that would be the point where, there's a director somewhere talking into a headset. I'm walking under this light and he's like, oh, there's too much light on him. Turn that light off. And then somebody goes bloop, and then that light turns off when I'm directly under it. Come on, what are the odds of that? There's nobody else on the street. It's just me.
I love it. See, if I were to pick one, it's that the media is starting to propagate that all phones are listening to you. And I'm like, oh, that's a good example of maybe it's just the Truman Show saying that we're just adding new mics.
Wait, is the media telling us that, or has that been happening all along?
I mean, what's the difference?
I think it's been happening all along.
Anyway, let's give this another spin, old Cammy boy. Wow, big spin there, big fella.
Big spin.
That's not a sport. That's my wife. As an ultimate frisbee player, Cam, what is one sport you truly do? What is one sport you truly believe does not count as a sport?
One sport that's not a sport.
Yeah, and you understand what I mean by this. Is one thing that people will put on the fringe as, some people say golf is not a sport because you are not competing against anybody else but the field.
I like that one. I do like that. Because when it comes to playing golf, you're never playing the guy in your foursome or, whatever. You're never playing him. You're playing against the course. You're playing against a bunch of fucking agricultural nerds who make a field that drains very well.
So therefore, then, Cam, I think the counter argument I had against that is then high jump, sprinting, right? These are not, because you're competing against the course as well.
Yeah.
It's an individual sport.
I like all of those things. Anything that you do explicitly by yourself, I would probably not call hunting a sport, unless it is a competition of who can bang the biggest buck. But if it's just you out there shooting deer, that's not a sport. That's just you out there shooting deer.
But isn't golf, if you're in a tournament, then does it turn into a sport itself?
See, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, if maybe it means more. There has to be more something on the line. If you're just playing tennis with your buddy, hitting the ball back and forth, you're just kind of hitting the ball back and forth. But if you're scoring, if you're down 30 love in the 6th set of your 3rd game, and there's $10 on the line, that's a sport, baby.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I think there's more discussion to be had there. I'm currently in a sport right now because I'm competing. It's called a walking challenge. Who can get the most steps in 7 days?
Oh, I would win that for sure. How are you
How
doing
many
so
steps
far?
do you take? So yesterday I walked 12.3 kilometers.
That's good. That's good. I don't have a step counter of any kind or anything like that. So of course, having an accurate representation of what's going on is tough sometimes. I would say on a nothing day, obviously you're getting nothing. But it's probably like 3K round trip for me to get groceries. I gotta go do that today.
It's quite a bit.
That'll be a nice if I walk over to Jess's. I think it's like 7.5. Her and I like doing nice 10K walks in the morning. Also,
that's a long walk.
Wake up, get a coffee, get a scone, and just kind of walk it out.
Yeah, it's a nice thing in Toronto. You can do that because there's just so much to see.
Oh, we kind of have like our routes, and then also which coffee shops we like stopping at, depending on what route you go on, which is also very important. Last week, I tried. I didn't get a cup of it. Just got a cup, but I just had a sip of the like a bulletproof coffee.
Oh, is that the one with the butter, MCT oil? Shit like that?
I don't know anything about oils, but yeah, butter and cream. And then the coffee, and then it's all blended together, and then that is served to you. It just tastes like really creamy, rich coffee. That's all it really tastes like.
Yeah, because I know if you put the MCT oil in it, your guts will just fall out of your butt without even you knowing it.
Jesus Christ.
Let's do one more spin.
Sure. Yeah, please give it to me, baby.
Give it to me, baby. All right, Cam. Third question. STFU. What group of fans are irresistible to listen to about their interest? And this doesn't have to be sports fans. This could be someone who's really interested in, say, crossbows, a specific television show, a sports team, or something otherwise.
That's fantastic, Cam. Well, the biggest one that came to mind was like right off the bat, even before you said it. And there was this little period of time in like 2013 when all anyone would want to talk about how Breaking Bad is the best show ever since possibly The Wire. It was this like very specific period of time, I think, where at least all of our peers, like Breaking Bad was coming to a close in the live sphere, but also a lot of our peer group, when it came to, downloading torrents and like, finding new shows, and The Wire would have been off the air for a few years by then, and you're kind of like discovering a new show. And then I have had so many people, or not lately though, back in the day, I'm going to say back in 2014, that's all anyone wanted to talk about. How Breaking Bad is the best show ever, except for possibly The Wire. Both great shows. You don't have to talk about it every time. Cam, you if you can recall a terrible Christmas traditions top 5 where those who love Elf love it so much they quote it, but only for 24 days? If you love something so much, just fucking tell me about it all the time. Sometimes I'll listen. Sometimes
you
I
don't
will
need
listen.
you don't need me yammering off about the Olympics like 2 years after the Olympic cycle. It's like, dude, I can't wait for this U.S. hockey Olympic team. They're going to be sick. And you're like, when is it? You're like, 2 years from now. Can't wait.
I can't think of a single Olympic moment that I was excited for the prospect about it. Surely we all remember Sidney Crosby's golden goal. We all remember it. But if you asked me 3 weeks prior, hey, are you ready for that Canada hockey game? I'd be like, yeah. I mean, like, it'll be watched. It'll be on in my house.
Right.
But I'm not like fucking like, oh, I'm not like going nuts about it. I think people who clamor on about the Olympics, I could probably put them in a similar thing.
I don't know anybody that clamors on about the Olympics, though.
See, my stepdad loves the Olympics, specifically for the track and field. That's his thing. But I think why I'm giving him a pass is because he will also watch like the
regular track and field?
Regular events that kind of continue to occur, like the there's one series.
Pan Am?
I was about to say Pan Am, but no, there's a different series of track and field where it's just track and field, where it's like the winners win. It's called like the Golden Games, and you win $1 million of gold. That's like, if you win the fucking high jump, you win $1 million of gold. It's like something like that, and then if you win silver, it's like $1 million of silver. Like it's broken down like that, and those occur once a year or something like that. He will continue to watch track and field on non-Olympic days, so I'll give him a pass on that one.
I think that's the first person I've ever heard of who watches track and field.
Well, he's he was in the Olympics in track.
Your dad was in the Olympics?
My stepdad.
What?
Yeah. In Montreal, he did the 100 meter, and then I think the 4x4, like the relay race, I think.
Damn.
He went.
Yeah, I guess you would be interested in that after that.
Yeah, no, and he fucking his calves are huge, and he likes watching the track and field. And I got to admit, I think the track and out of all of the Olympic events, I think maybe just because it would have been the ones that were on routinely, I see the track and field events as being the most impressive to me personally. Although you watch something like you watch like table tennis and you're like, wow, yeah, or you watch like the biathlon and you're like, wow, yeah, but like track and field, just because like I remember we did track and field, like I didn't do the javelin or the fucking discus throw or anything like that, but like I remember long jump. I remember triple jump, and these guys who are like jumping out of the out of the sandbox. I'm like, gee, I that's a little more conceivable to me. Like, Jesus Christ, I can jump 4 feet. You just did 19 and a half, and you didn't even win.
That's how I feel about watching cycling now that I track all my metrics for it. And it's like they're averaging 278 watts. And to someone like that does have no idea what it means. It's like, that's a number. And after you try and push 275 watts for like 3 minutes, you're like, this is death, and I can't do this anymore. And then they're going up a mountain generating 350 watts. You're like, this is impossible. But somehow they managed to do it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
The beauty of steroids.
Or it would be like seeing somebody watching a fighter who's in your weight class. And watching them train. And you're like, wow, I could not do that. And conceivably I should, because we're the same size. Conceivably I should be able to do this. Oh my God, excuse me. So I think the track and field have always kind of, and especially I do think that the 100 meter is really that to me the creme de la creme of that track and field world. It is the Super Bowl of track and field. Nobody remembers the guy who owns the 800 meter record. Nobody remembers the guy who shot put or the woman who shot putted the furthest. But everyone remembers the 100 meter race.
So, funny thing about the 100 meter race is everyone says that Usain Bolt was the fastest man on earth. Fair?
I think, wasn't that a general conclusion?
Conclusion.
Are you about to blow our brains?
Well, there was someone in the NFL Combine who did a 40-yard dash and got to a higher speed than Usain Bolt did.
Oh, okay. Like his speed was faster,
Correct.
but like his max achievable speed was faster than.
The top speed he hit was faster. The distance was not the same, but the top speed he hit was faster.
No, that's that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, when I think when I think fastest man alive, I don't think fastest from here to here or here to there. I picture you always kind of picture that 100-meter.
Well, you kind of think like that's the minimum distance you have to kind of get to reach that top speed.
Yeah.
But apparently the 40-yard dash, you can.
Well, and that's
I can probably
and
blow past that. I got like a 3.2.
I'm not a track and field trainer of any kind, right? But
You don't say.
I want like what's you what do we know, have we tracked Usain Bolt's 40? We'll get that information for next week, but I would picture if you hit your max speed at 30 yards, you're not going to be able to sustain that, and you're going to flutter out by the end of the race. I bet Usain Bolt could run faster, but you don't, so you could sustain, this combine guy hits 42 miles per
I
hour,
don't know, man.
and then just fucking for 10 yards and then stops, but Usain Bolt hits like 36 miles per hour and sustains it for 80 yards. I wonder how...
See, the 100-meter dash is just so small, though. Like, it's just such a small distance.
Yeah, it's so small. It's so simple in theory. It's just here to there. That's an easy distance to run. Who can do it the fastest? I think.
But that's what I'm saying is
coolest.
like this 40 yards versus 100 yards make that big a difference.
I think it would.
I don't know.
I think it would.
I don't know. Speaking of speed, maybe we should talk about some fast cars. Perfect segue into the nightcap.
The Nightcap, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist. All we need is 5 minutes to recap this week's episode. Maybe less than 5 minutes, but certainly not more than 5 minutes. We're going to need more than 5 minutes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you did have the beginning part.
Yeah, I'm going to kick off this week's this week's edition of the Nightcap. You know what we're doing here, folks? We're watching all season 1 of Knight Rider on NBC, I think. Of course,
I'm watching on YouTube.
No, but I mean, like it premiered on NBC.
I know. I checked NBC. It wasn't on.
Cam, we're bringing yourself back to follow the stories of Michael Knight and his supercar kit. Let's bring ourselves back to a cozy November 26th, 1982. It's a Friday night. Your kids are out getting fingered or fingering. We're not too sure. And you and the missus, you're sitting back.
Or both.
Or both, who knows? And you and your wife are sitting back and watching The Knight Rider. We're putting 5 minutes on the clock because that's all the time that we have to describe this week's episode. And 5, 4, 3, 2, we are on. We open at a nighttime when two cops have set up a speed trap. And they catch something going a whopping 225 miles per hour, which is about 362 kilometers an hour. What can this be? It has to be a jet engine, right? Nothing could possibly drive this fast. Well, of course, we know it to be Kit. But inside the car, there's some kind of fight ongoing between someone and Knight, who does get the upper hand. He ejects him out. We eventually capture our prisoner and leave him in a very secure RV. It might just look like a normal RV, but don't worry, Devin has assured us it is quite secure. Back at headquarters, we reveal that the prisoner had a map asking to be somewhere at 3 p.m. Wonder what could be happening. We are going to go in that guy's place and pretend to be whoever this prisoner is. Meanwhile, Bonnie is increasing Kit's scanner range to 50 feet. And now, he's increasing the scanner range and can now affect all electrical devices within 50 feet. So let's see if that comes into play later. We then go off to the location on the map where we meet a man named Kincaid who has a small army. They're clearly training for something because we're needed for a driving gig, where we're trying to be the replacement, although although this is the second time that we've been asked to train for driving to show what we can do, so I'm starting to noting a pattern here. It is time for training. It must be serious, whatever hell we're doing, because people are doing one of the most impressive exercises of all time, the upside down beanbag catch hang, which is one of the strongest exercises that you can do for your core. Our training course comes up, and we are asked to jump on a ramp on grass. There's going to be a lot of grass wherever we're driving. Back at the RV prison, our prisoner breaks out. Who knew? By using a little bomb to blow himself out. We'll go back to Kincaid's, where Michael Knight's doing a little snooping. He wants to find out what's going on here. We figure out we're going to be breaking into a prison. We still don't really know why, though. Kit also tries out some of his new skills so we can escape through the front gate by distracting a guard and exploding a coffee machine. Poor coffee machine. And just opening the gate himself. After we pull a classic one over on the cops. We love pulling him over on the cops. Classic Kit. We're able to contact Devin, let him know the plan. This is also when we find out our love interest for the episode. She's involved in this because she is being blackmailed. So we'll have to deal with that somehow. We're about to confront Kincaid. We get caught, but our prisoner has come back to pay us a visit.
Jesus, you stole the whole damn episode there, Cam. Well, at this point, we do find the intimate moment between Miss Elliott and Michael Knight and find out she's being blackmailed, like we did mention. Kincaid does reveal his plan, but not to break into the prison, but to actually steal $12 million in gold. A little switcheroo, as they do say. The trucks in the Brink truck contain sensors that will alert all police if the officers within 50 kilometers if they stop. So they need to make this on the move. The plan starts to knock out this Brinks truck. I call it a Brinks truck. Who knows what it actually is? That convoys a Jeep behind it. So while the Jeep's running behind it, they're going constant communication. One of the tricks that we saw of the car flying, doing the jump stunts, comes into play as a buggy jumps over the Jeep to drop off a smoke bomb in it to disarm all the convoy of Jeeps within it. Meanwhile, now that the Brinks truck is covered without having any person involved that can stop them, Michael drives up behind them and ends up having to drop off Miss Elliott, who is a trained gymnast, to jump onto the truck and break into the truck itself by somehow knowing the code, opening it up. But then after a quick bump in the road, Miss Elliott jumps and is unable to hold on to the truck except with one hand. She's dangling off, hurts her ankle. Michael picks her back up and says, "Kit, I'm gonna have to roll with this one solo." So he jumps back out of the car, leaves Kit on solo, and jumps into the Brinks truck and starts dropping off bags and bags and bags of gold. As we see a few kilometers back, they're scooping them back up. Michael jumps back into the car, and all is good, and we think we've solved the problem with Kincaid. We're well aware that there's something awry here. We've stolen money, but how can this all work itself out so nicely? Anyway, back at the shop, or back at the army base, I should say, we see a very quick Kincaid shot where he says, "Michael Knight, we are now aware we have been caught." But quickly, the Miss Elliott creates a distraction, and this episode wraps up very quickly as all of a sudden we throw all the prisoners, which is like a full army, into the back of a truck, including Kincaid, by disarming his gun, then bringing him to Devon. End of episode. Kind of bizarre ending.
Kit can take down a whole army. That's all we got to know. And that was time.
Yeah, just I was expecting a bigger battle scene at the end, and they just they're like, "Hey guys, look inside the car," and they all funnel in, and they're like, "What is it?" And then it's close the door, there's a quick way to disable an army.
Classic dumb army. Yeah, another great episode. Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah, I liked.
It does seem to have a theme where it's you go to Bonnie, she's like, "I installed this new thing," which will come up later in the episode. You get to the place, there's a bad guy. Bad guy has a love interest. You meet them. They never hook up. They'll probably kiss at one point. You go into the car scene. You use the new technology. You have a car scene, and then the episode ends. You know what you're signing up for, and I think that's the best part.
Exactly, that's the best part. I think we're almost about actually halfway done the season, so it'll be great. And until we move on to our next show of some kind.
Plus, we have that one I think they called it. You call it a bottle episode where they had that shit one a few weeks back. So hopefully they're saving their budget up for something big.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
no,
that first episode with that helicopter was pretty big.
We'll probably have another bottleneck episode of some kind.
It's called a bottle episode.
Bottleneck.
Not a bottleneck. No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's called a bottle episode because it like takes. I don't remember. I looked this up one time, but basically, it came off of a concept. Yeah, put that down in the notes. It came out. The concept of a bottle episode is not that you bottleneck the season, but you keep it all within one confined space. So, for example, like the episode of Community where they like lose someone's cell phone in the one room, so they never have to go to anywhere other shots. There's an episode of Seinfeld where they never leave the apartment. There's, like, you can find episodes where they just don't leave the scene, so it's really cheap to make, and that's just so you can save your budget up for a later episode.
Okay, see, Cam, I always thought literally the exact same explanation, but I pictured it like a bottle where, you know, it's like it was open, you know, and like the show was bigger, and then it eventually narrows down to that little neck, you know, where you don't flow out as much, like, you know, like big to small. But yeah, who knows? One of us is right and one of us is wrong. Why
do you think it's called, like, what about the bottleneck though is the important part?
Yeah, because like, you know, down, you know, it's like the neck is where it thins out. Right,
okay,
like the bottle is larger, but then the neck of, you know, picture like a beer bottle or something, right, or a wine bottle, the neck thins out. That's why I thought it was just called the bottleneck. But while we're talking about bottles, though, Cam, have you seen that Fly episode of Breaking Bad? Oh my God, it might be the best episode of television ever made. Certainly for a bottle episode. Certainly for one where the bottle was necked and they were just in the lab and all he was doing was cleaning and they were paranoid and there were only 2 actors. Oh my God. Have you seen Breaking Bad, Cam? The 3rd time that you rewatch Breaking Bad, so, you know, making it the 4th time that you've seen the series in general, you'll get it. You'll get it by the 4th time you rewatch it. 3rd time you rewatch it.
Done?
Yeah.
Good? All right. Keep plowing ahead here. All right, folks, now that we have that worst trope past us, let's move on to the best trope. It's time for a little hi-oh, no-hi-oh, salami, you know, salam-lama ding-dong, salami, pastrami, hi-oh or no-hi-oh, headline or asinine.
Hey, headline or asinine.
Headline or asinine.
All right, Cammy boy, I'll give you a salami or pastrami here.
No, I thought it was bologna or salami.
Call it what you want.
I can't remember what we called it before.
It was, salami bologna, because bologna's a lie,
Because bologna's
right?
the
real.
lie. Yeah, that's what it was.
Salami pastrami.
I do like salami pastrami though, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't even know which one's real. Yeah,
exactly. I thought pastrami was a real meat.
it is a real meat.
I didn't think there was a problem.
Yeah. Anyway, national arborists urge Congress to lower the age of consent for trees.
Yes. Well, this is a big problem in a lot of places of the world. Of course, Cam, I don't know if you've ever seen Game of Thrones. It might be the best television show that was ever. It might honestly
tell
be
me
Game
all
of Thrones
about
might
it.
be the best TV show ever, and there were a lot of fans of that show who really took the Children of the Forest theme from that show far too literally. And then all over the world, people started, you know, trying to have sex with trees. And it wasn't so much the sex that people were trying to have with the trees. That was fine. It was all the loads that were being dropped into the trees. It was just like messing with, you know, the trees weren't able to get like the proper nutrients, proper photosynthesis, just because they were just covered with loads all the time. But, you know, a tree has the right to choose, I believe, you know, if they want to keep their little seedlings, little saplings or not. I don't see the advantage of lowering the consent. See, that's kind of the thing. If anything, you should be raising the consent. You know, really make sure that this tree is mature before it, you know, should be allowed to be cummed in. But you know, everyone loves a young tree, a young tight tree. So I'm gonna say that's a headline.
This is a little bit of pastrami, a little bit of a lie, or salami, or it's not true.
Okay,
It's a baloney. It's a baloney.
I pictured age of consent meaning like when you're allowed to cut trees down. That's kind of how I pictured it. Like, like the arborist had like a rule where it was like you can't clear cut trees if they're shorter than 4 feet or something like that. That's how I pictured that one.
That's how I give you a little bit of smoke, buddy. Sometimes I throw the change up instead of the fastball.
Okay, here we go. I got one here for you. Headliner asinine. Teenager invents gender equal and diverse playing cards.
Yeah, I'd imagine that there's no kings or queen. It's just like Zims and Zers or something like that. Because everybody knows that, or maybe it's something like, oh, the jack is a male and the queen is a female, but a jack should be both male and female. And the 6 should be what if 6 was 9, Cam? Wouldn't that be fine?
Wouldn't that?
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that someone, this just seems unfair, and tried to make a little bit of noise. So I'm gonna call a headline.
Okay, and that one's a headline here for you. And there's a story here. This all started when a young teenager named Mayan Segal was playing cards with her parents, and then she asked the question, "Hey, why is the queen worth less than the king? And why is everybody white?"
Yeah.
The father, without a real answer, besides, explaining how the medieval ages go, the family quickly got into a discussion about gender equality, and then asked themselves, is gender necessary for playing cards? So the young girl started designing a new deck of cards with new roles to separate the cards in the game. Because, of course, you still need... The games are based on things like, the face cards. How do we make it work? So here we go. The king card...
And no one wins, I'm assuming?
Nobody wins, and every deck
Nobody
comes
loses.
with just, series of participation awards that everybody gets. So the king... The king card is now called the monarch. Okay, so it's the monarch, and it has an M symbol on it. The monarchs, there's 2 males and 2 females of various skin tones and hair colors. So you have an M. So instead of the K, it's an M. And then next, you have the Duchess and the Duke. That replaced the Queen. So that'll be the one with the D's. Again, the Duchesses, women, Dukes, and both of varying, everybody looks different. And then your final one, the Jacks, is replaced by the Prince and Princess. So a P instead. So instead of looking for KQJ, you're looking for MDP. Dynamite. They've actually even included both a male and female Joker. So even both Jokers are different. So far, in the United States, 35,000 decks of these cards have sold, and they're increasing. They're getting new supporters every day, larger financial backers who are hoping to kind of bring this a little larger, kind of spread this out a little bit.
Well, that's I don't know who needs a new pack of decks or a deck of cards. Personally, I don't know a single person who's like, I'm out of cards right now. Everybody has a fucking deck of cards.
Well, Cam, I hate to say it, I need a new deck of cards just because they got wet one time, so now they're starting to kind of peel away, and they're not as far. You can tell which card is the 10 of clubs now because it has a little rip on the side. Like that kind of thing. So I think I do need... It's not that I need a whole new deck of cards. I just need a
new Jack.
A new 10 of clubs. But then I would need to find a 10 of clubs from the Tropicana Hotel and Resort in Las Vegas. So it would just be
I'll send you a deck of cards.
I mean, it would be fantastic, But
what do you want? You want the non-binary ones?
No, give me some kings, give me some queens, give me some jacks, because we're playing Sequence, and that's a board game that has the card faces on it. So Sequence is going to have to redo their entire business model.
Okay. Cammy boy, McDonald's robber demands chicken nuggets, has to accept breakfast food because it was still too early.
Right. So what's the deal with McDonald's? You can get breakfast at any time, but
You can't get lunch. At every time.
non-breakfast is only sold between certain hours.
You got it.
Do you know the specificities of that time? That's okay if you don't.
I think it's 11.
So 11, but when does it stop? Like 3 a.m. is when it, when does lunch stop and become breakfast?
That's an interesting question.
So because it would have happened in that glory
Like 3?
time, right?
Like
because
3?
like you could if you go to rob a restaurant, I mean, if you go to rob a McDonald's at 4 a.m., are you expecting there to be nuggets? Because what if you were right on that edge? They stop serving dinner and lunch at 3:30 in the morning. You show up at 3:31. I mean, that's happened to a lot of people, and you'd be pissed anyways. So this guy was just mad and also robbing the McDonald's. Like, it was kind of like a twofer. Because you'll hear that, if you go to a fast food place that also does breakfast. Oh, sorry, we're not doing breakfast anymore. And then they're like, drats. And sometimes they're a little bit mad. They're like, oh, come on, it's been like 2 extra minutes. Don't you have an extra McMuffin back there? So it was kind of the same thing. It was like, give me all the cash. Give me the money. What do you mean you don't have any nuggets? This is a headline.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it, that guy. He was McDonald's is very strict about what time lunch starts. Okay, we know that for a fact. This is in England, where a man goes on with a mask. He comes in, goes with what he says is a gun. He's like, I got a gun in this bag. You're gonna give me the cash. You're gonna open up the safe. You're gonna give me more cash. And on the way, he's like, and I want some fucking chicken nuggets. And they're like, sorry. They grabbed the little microphone. They're like, sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. There's no more nuggets. Sorry, sir. There's, it's not lunch yet.
Wait, they're British. You have to do it British.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, governor.
Sorry, governor. There's no more chicken nuggets. Mate. And no more nuggets.
I'm Michael Caine. There's no more chicken nuggets. I'm Michael Caine.
On the breakfast side, mate. Give you English muffin if you want. Double sausage. Free of charge.
For free.
And that's what he took. He took a English muffin, double sausage. Later was caught by the police and actually came in, self-reported. From there, they found out he didn't have a real gun on him, just a airsoft gun. But either way, you're going to get in trouble for trying to rob somewhere. He only stole $600.
600 pounds. That's like $1,200.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I find that surprising. I wonder, I mean, God, the Mr. Sub that I worked at was held up at gunpoint like a few years after I left.
Nice.
And of course, like I do remember my boss like didn't prepare us for the event occurring, but he said like, if anything ever happens like that, you're getting robbed. Fucking
you fight your ass back.
No, he was just like, open the register and fucking.
You don't let that fucker leave.
Do whatever. Yeah, like run away, do whatever they say, like that kind of thing. But in UK,
I don't want $1 stolen from this.
In the UK,
place.
yeah, no, I find that surprising just because you're not allowed to have a gun. Period. So it's even more surprising when something like that happens. Cam, are you ready for your next headline?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Headliner asks 9 Spotify employees support Joe Rogan claiming that young people should not get a COVID vaccine.
Yeah, I did see this podcast. I did hear it. He did have to clarify it for his league of followers.
I also heard on the Joe Rogan experience that sort of apology or sort of clarification note.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. Anyway, I think in the past Spotify has come out and they were like, we don't support your view on what he said about trans people. At some point they were like, get this guy off the air. They're like, we spent a lot of money. He's like, I don't care about the cash, get him off the air. And I think it's typically very left-leaning, the employees at Spotify. So it'd be kind of weird for them to be like, we don't want no vaccines. Keep this guy on the air. So I'm going to go ahead and call it asinine. Asinine.
Asinine. You got that one.
Fucking smart.
Fucking
all right.
smart.
Cammy Burrs. Border Patrol chief is mad that he can't use slurs to describe immigrants anymore.
Ah, that's the worst, eh? That's the worst part about being a cis white man in the current day, is that I'm not allowed to say so many things when it would be so much, like, hey, do you know that, like, hey, it's that guy with the black hair. Like, what guy with black hair? Like, black hair, kind of like olive skin. Black hair, olive skin. Yeah, black hair, olive skin. He's talking with his hands a lot. Who's that? He's got like black hair, olive skin. He talks with his hands a lot. He's saying things like, forget about it. Oh, you mean the Italian man? It would be so much easier if we could just say things like that, especially in a quick situation like, hey, grab that guy. Who? That first word. That first word that needs to come out needs to be there. That needs to be.
He's got black shoes on and jeans, but they look a little bit.
There
too tight.
is a very, very important episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where a character's life is saved due to being referred to as a slur, and then they kind of like brought them back to attention, and then they were able to save themselves from dying. So that was actually a big plot, a big episode there in season 14. Cam, it sounds just about right. I would love to hear the full story and the guy trying to defend himself, so I'm going to say it's a headline.
Yes, it is a headline. Now, when he talks about slurs, it's, I'm not going to go ahead and slur them on the air, but basically, it's not the ones you expect. So there was an amendment that got penned by the new president, the power-in-chief, whatever the fuck you call those people, that basically says replace the word illegal alien with undocumented citizen and assimilation with civic integration, among other new suggested language. I don't follow his argument this well, so this is going to be a little bit difficult to get behind. Basically, he was saying, let's prove that this works, then let's copy it before we do this to the whole United States. I don't think, he thinks language is very important. And I don't really understand why he thinks the specific words are very important. It doesn't really make sense. Go ahead and take a read for yourself. We use words that matter and will serve to further once confer the dignity of those in custody. It's a lot of just like saying things like that, but they don't really have much substance to them. The term dehumanizes men, women, and children. It has been weaponized against immigrants of color. So that definitely was not him who said that. Anyway,
it looks like you're reading this fresh and had no.
I did read it, but I tried reading it like 3 times, and I'm like, I don't really see the point he's trying to make here. Anyway, take a peek at that if you're curious. He's not happy about it. He wants to call people illegal aliens, whether you want to call them that or not. There has been quite a few sightings of aliens from Commander Fravor, so take that in consideration.
Yeah, maybe, Cam, maybe this is just the government's attempt to, has nothing to do with making a slur, so we're just trying to clarify, because the aliens are coming very soon, so we don't want, these undocumented citizens to be just kind of confused with the actual aliens who are coming to probe us.
That's it.
Cam, I got one here for you. Headliner: asinine hospital employee made 15 years of pay despite not working a day.
This is a classic clerical. It's like man released from prison 3 times because of clerical error, like something like that. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. But when you work for these giant hospitals, especially if they're like, if it's in the States, I don't even know, because those are more tight on cash. But yeah, I could see that happening either from just a clerical error or just having some, it's probably started off with, oh, I'm on long-term disability, you have to pay me this amount, and then it just keeps paying. And she's just like, I'm not saying a damn word. And then goes on for 20 years until someone notices the book's like, who is this Carol Reichenspiel? And then they do a little digging, and she used to work there 20 years ago, still getting the cash. And next thing you know, you're in the Boston Sun. Headline.
Cam, this is a headline, but gosh, where's your sense of adventure? Your cold cut. You're like, this
You
has to
got
be
me.
clerical. This has to be a simple error that is made all the time. United States. It's not. This is a story coming out of southern Italy where a man named Salvatore Scumacci is under investigation for forgery, extortion, and abuse of office after he received nearly $650,000 US despite not attending work. Not only is he being investigated, but actually the entire management of the hospital is also being investigated because while an accountant was doing a routine employee check, he noticed that this particular employee hasn't been present to work in over 15 years, despite always receiving a paycheck. Police took statements from current employees who had never heard of him, nor did they recognize a photo that was that was admitted on file to the hospital. Police currently believe that the man Scumacci was blackmailing upper-level officials to extort his job. Nothing's been set in stone yet. No arrests have been made. But the charges of forgery and extortion are already on him. So this was actually a case of, this could just be a case, Cam, not of a clerical error, not of somebody being released 3 times from prison. No, there was some badass Italian gangster shit that went down. And this guy's holding the job because of it.
I love a good blackmail story.
Of course you do. You've been on both sides of the blackmail coin, a couple.
When someone blackmails you just gotta blackmail them back.
Exactly, blackmail them back, and then it sort of, Cam, for you, it kind of turns into more of like a pen pal type thing, where now you and you have a couple friends who are also your age. Yeah, write invisible ink, and you have to like pee on the letter so you can see what it actually says or something like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Well, that's all the time that we have for the show this week, I guess.
Another great episode.
Another great episode.
Hope you got over your Sunday scaries, because I know they are scary.
God, we're never going to talk about those again. Thanks for listening, folks. You know where to find us. We're all over the place. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Listen to us at 1.2% for maximum results. Cam, I think I found that to be the perfect, the perfect time kind of lapsing to listen. It also makes the theme songs go by very quickly, which is also kind of funny. But the speaking is fantastic. And Cam, just as we sort of wrap this up, I do want to mention that I think for possibly the very, 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 honestly, possibly the very first time in my life, I finished a pen. I have a pen that I write with. You can see, Cam, the level of ink that is remaining there. There's sort of like this little ball that I didn't even know existed in pen. Is that what a ballpoint pen means? I don't even know. But Cam, as we bring this podcast to a conclusion, I, for the first time in my life as a 29-year-old man, used a pen all the way up. Thank you. No, I think that, I don't know if people are doing this all the time and they're just not proud about it, but God, I am proud of this.
I can't say I've ever done that, so I'll give you props on that one.
Thank you very much. Let me know. twoceesinapod@gmail.com.
All right, folks. Well, Cam signing off here. Don't forget that humans are the only animal that enjoy eating spicy food. So go ahead and nail that extra hot burrito, not white hot, Mexican hot. Cam LeClaire signing off.
Take care, folks.
Continuing tonight on 2 C's in a Pod. 96.7 on your.
Two C's in a pod, 2 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 C's just like 2 C's in a pod, 2 C's because we're 2 C's in a pod, 2 C's just like 2 C's in a pod, 2 C's in a pod
at gmail.com.